Hey, this is Wileen Benson, and you are on the Daily Gratitude Call, where we start every day in gratitude. Gratitude is the highest energy state that we can be in. It creates a frequency of positive vibration that attracts positive experiences into our lives.
Hey everybody, this is Wileen Benson. This is our Daily Gratitude Call. It's Christmas Eve. Happy Christmas Eve, everyone, and just excited to there's a lot of anticipation, I'm sure. Maybe some last minute putting things together before Christmas morning tomorrow, and it's just such a happy time. I just invite us all to put a smile on our faces and just feel the gratitude and the warmth and abundance that this season brings, and also bringing that true spirit of Christ within us. I was talking to one of my clients yesterday on the phone, and the last time we had a call, not yesterday, but the time before, when we had our scheduled call, he said some things, and I suggested to him that, I know what it was. This year for 2020, his goal is to create a proximity of power so that he's in the presence of great people as he's on his growth journey. And through our conversation, I suggested to him that he expand it beyond earthly people and to do a study throughout the year of Christ and the proximity of power of being with Christ, apostles, and how they spent a lot of time with him. The woman who was cured of the issue of blood, and she just thought, if I can just get in proximity, if I can just touch the hem of his garment, I can be healed. People that sat with him in lessons on the hill, of education, being educated by his wisdom. And I can't remember why I was sharing that. If anybody remembers where I was, you can unmute and remind me.
You were talking about proximity with power.
Yeah, proximity of power. It was something before that. Anyway, maybe it will come back to me. Maybe somebody just needed to hear that. I don't know. It was something about, I was talking to the guy yesterday and kind of doing a follow-up. I don't remember. Oh, I do remember. Creation. That was one of the things that he did start his study over the past week, and he said that the thing that he started with was Christ as a creator, and what it would be like to be is in his proximity as he was creating the earth. And we had a really awesome discussion about that, about being in the presence of Christ as he uses his powers to, miraculous powers to create. And today on our call before we started the recording, we were talking about, there were a lot of things that were shared about abundance, diversity, all the different materials that are available for us to create with, even the differences in people and the wide variety of fruits and flowers and trees and animals, and just the wide variety of life, the diversity of life. And so I thought that word diversity would be a good one for us to focus on. And there's diversity in people, there's diversity in foods, there's diversity in so many different things. And then that thought that my client was sharing with me yesterday about the creation kind of plays into it too, the diversity, the abundance of diversity that our Lord has created for us on this earth. Before we start our private meditation, let's find out who just joined us.
Hi, it's Mary.
Hey, Mary, welcome. We're just about to start our private meditation. 90 seconds. I'm going to set the timer for 90 seconds, and we're going to focus on gratitude for diversity. And let's just see what comes up for us. So grab your paper and pen. Just get ready to write gratitude for diversity, your 90-second private meditation, and just writing down the inspiration that you receive. Begin. All right. The first thing that came to me is one man's trash is another man's treasure. And based on the skills, every single person sees things that are available to us on Earth. We have an abundance of materials to work with, and some people see it as trash, other people see it as treasure. My husband has gone to the junkyard a lot of times to get different parts for our car over the years. Our cars over the years, when we would have something break down or something would break, on a door or whatever, he's a mechanic, and so he can see treasure within what other people would consider trash. Even based on skills and interests, we can get different results using the same materials. I oil paint, and we use basically the same colors. There's cadmium red, and I'm blanking out on all the other ones right now. But there's like basic colors that you put before you even start the painting. You put these different colors along on your palette so that you can pull from each one of these colors to create the color that you want. And so we, in a sense, as an artist, are creating our own diversity from the variety of colors that are available. Even skill. Some people, I've seen paintings that are done with just a palette knife. That they don't use brushes; they just use a knife to scrape paint on. To blob paint on and then scrape it off in certain ways and to get the results that they want. And so I'm just like in awe. No two paintings could ever be alike. Even if you're using the exact same materials, it's going to come out different because we're different. Our interests are different. Even I, will try different techniques based on what the outcome is, that I want. So, I'm just really grateful for the variety of materials that we have to work with, and also sort of like there's no competition. No two people could ever create the exact same thing because they have different experiences, different likes, different skills, different vision of what they want the outcome to look like. So I just love that fact that we are all totally unique. Who else would like to share?
I think I'd like to share. I was thinking in terms of boredom. Boredom is like the root of all evil, and so I think God, in His infinite wisdom, decided to create so much diversity, and there is so much diversity in His creation just to keep us away from boredom and to just, pick our imagination and, forever enchant us. This is the way I think of it. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That is a really powerful principle. Creation is it's using our imagination, and I see imagination as like inspiration from the source of light, and so it's like a connection with God when we're inspired to try something new, to be creative, to use some of these tools that are available to us, some of these resources that are available to us to create something. And that God connection, I feel like boredom is sort of a separating, is sort of like a inward, I'm thinking about myself, like I'm so bored, and when we connect with others, including connecting with God by using our imagination, it kind of gets rid of that. Thank you. Who else?
I was. Go ahead,
Michael, and then Felicia.
Okay, it's Michael. I wrote down diversity in people, the people you meet, in their taste, the things they like, diversity in their attitude, the way they think and feel. But there's diversity in the star sizes, diversity in the dirt when you move to different areas of the country, diversity in their skills, their abilities. There's diversity in the mountains. When I lived in Michigan, it was flat, and I come out to Utah, and everywhere I look, there's a high peak. But, diversity in colors I had written down, and they make thousands of different shades of color from red, one color, and yellow, one color. It's not just a plain red and just a plain yellow, but just one little drop or a quarter of a drop makes a difference in the color shade. And so the last thing I wrote was, we're limited by our imagination. So diversity allows us to see more, but we might limit ourselves on the things we see from our past lives and from the things that we've seen. But it's so amazing when you get into a car and you're in Michigan and you drive across country and you see different plants, different flowers, different animals that you don't see in your own area. And the trees are even different if you go into and see the palm trees versus the big tall oak trees where you live. So diversity is all around us in everything. And yeah, I guess what Damien said, I think it was, that it's boring. You can't be bored. If you don't want to, you can't be bored.
I love that. When you said we're limited by our imagination, I wrote, I'm limited by my boredom. If we're bored, it's our own fault because, wow, so many different things, diverse things to reach out and just experience. Even if we're just looking around us, we can be in awe. When you mentioned about the colors, that we can take these certain colors and make thousands of shades. When I was in Peru, we went up into the top of the mountains where this community of people were indigenous people, and they did a demonstration of creating colors that they used to dye their yarn from the llama wool and alpaca wool. And with one color, she took just like a powdered pigment that they had gotten from a flower and ground up the flower and created this powdered pigment. And she added different things to it. She added different plants to it. And then she would draw she'd like mix it a little bit with water and then she would take a stick and just like pull the color out from that pigment, and each different flower or, whatever it was that she used some clay, she used all, things that were readily available around them. And the one that was most like mind-boggling to me was that she took a stone that looked sort of like a crystal, and she drew the pigment out after she had dampened the stone, and it created this vibrant purple from a yellow pigment. And I was just like, oh my word, I cannot even compute that in my brain that a rock could create a different color. So yeah, I've talked to kids when they're little, and they all think that they're artists. They all know that they're artists. And then when they hit about 3rd or 4th grade, they've had enough people give them feedback about their art that some of them will say, oh, I'm not an artist, and they will stop creating. And I think that is one of the most tragic things in a person's life if they ever get to the point where they feel like they can't create. It's just a tragedy. Thank you. There's so many different ways to create. Felicia.
I actually was thinking of the diversity of plant varieties that protects us, like from blight or insects. When you get into monospecies, we're at great danger, but it's the great diversity that is a protection. And I saw in my mind again a story which I had seen about a place out west, I forget what state it was, where they introduced one pair of wolves, a mate, husband and wife wolf. They introduced them into a blighted landscape. And that one pair of wolves, because of their habits of feeding and everything, they changed the wildlife in the area, which then caused the grass to grow differently, which then caused the water in the stream to flow differently. The banks became a different environment. More species came in, and that one pair of wolves changed everything. And I felt, as I watched that in my mind again, I saw how each one of us makes a difference that we can't see or even imagine. But we are here by design, and that when I think I am different, that is not a flaw. That, if I'm not there, something's missing. And when each of us shows up, that we can know beyond all doubt that the diversity that we bring, that differentness that we might feel is our thing that we should be fixing, is truly the gift, and to be grateful for that diversity in ourselves.
Awesome. That brought up a lot of, I think we could create a class on this, like an hour-long course or something, because several things just kept popping into my mind as you were talking. When in Genesis it talks about when he introduced Adam and Eve into the Garden of Eden, he gave them dominion over the earth. And if he had not placed man on the earth would have died. His creation, as great as it is and as diverse and had so much variety, and was, the animals were reproducing, and everything was reproducing itself. But until he introduced man onto the earth would not have, it must have been, or he wouldn't have given man dominion, that it was necessary. He didn't do anything superfluous. Everything was in its proper place and order, and he gave man dominion over the earth. And so my thought is how important it is that we continue creating, that we do everything that we can to protect the area, that we're in as much as possible to protect and continue the abundance this earth. A lot of times, there are species that are extinct. There are species that are in danger of being extinct because they've been over farmed or whatever. But yeah, having dominion over the earth. And then the other thought that I had was we're here in this space for a particular reason. Like you said, introducing those wolves into that area, that they healed that area and invited other people in. We have the same opportunity, I feel, to kind of bloom where we are planted, to not see ourselves as victims of, maybe being born into an abusive family, or being in a place that, our home or whatever is not exactly what we would hope, or, whatever it is, to feel gratitude for where we are at, and know that, just as those wolves were introduced to a dying landscape, they were able to put life back into it and invite more life in. And if a pair of wolves can do it, why not us? Why not me as an individual? Why not me and my husband as a couple within our community? There's no reason why we can't heal the area that where we're at, and create a beautiful abundance. We have that power of creation in us because we are sons and daughters of a God who created the earth.
Eileen, that's perfect. And I just wanted to add one thing, if I could, because what I wrote, what came to me was the differences in all of us, and it's a beautiful thing when we can see and honor each other for our differences, even our children and the differences that they have. And when we can see the diversity in our family and learn from it, it's just a beautiful thing. Then we are really living.
Thank you. Yeah, if you think about back to the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve, God didn't say, okay, now go there and make all these things like you. Make sure that all of your, all the animals and the plants and everything resemble you. And a lot of times as parents, we want our kids to live up to our expectations or our standards or our beliefs or whatever, instead of just embracing the abundance of diversity and feeling like, wow, look how different you are. This is so cool.
Yes. And the three words come to me: living, loving, and learning.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. I'm going to write those
down.
Can I
put that in there now, too?
Sure.
I remember going to a cave, and you're looking around, and it all seems like bare rock. But they have a microscope sitting there, and you look under the microscope, and there's growth. There's new growth.
What?
There's something growing and living that we can't even see. And that's the same thing. The deeper you go down into the ocean, there are different types of animals, a diversity, a whole life created without light. And it's different to us, but it's growth. It's new life to them.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's amazing. Everywhere we go on this earth, there is, and even in a deep, dark cave, there's life and growth happening. So again, why not us? So this is a really great time for us to shift over to our permission process. It's going to be a fairly short one today. We are getting close to the end of our time. I appreciate everybody's comments, everybody being on the call. Thank you for everything that you have contributed. This has been an awesome discussion. Let's take a deep breath. And first question I have for you is, or actually just an invitation, is to see yourself as part of this great diversity that God has created on the earth. There's not one single person that is or ever will live on this earth that is remotely even close to you. Even twins have amazing differences. Take one more deep breath and just embrace that feeling of diversity within our planet, within your own self, even doing the same thing twice is pretty much impossible. Exactly the same way. Lightning never strikes twice in the same place. Everything is diverse throughout our world. And just write down any words of gratitude that you're feeling about the diversity that you are and the diversity, how you fit within the diversity of our world. And when I say our world, I'm extending beyond Earth, our universe, our God world, the world that encompasses God, eternity, infinity, our single place within infinity. If you allow your mind to expand, you can fathom it. And the question I have for you is, what is the limiting belief about your own diversity within the vast diversity of God's creations? What is the limiting belief about diversity, your own diversity coming up? And as you're considering this limiting belief, examine the cost of it, your place within the vast diversity of God's creations. What is the cost or the result if you hold on to this limiting belief? And if you don't like that cost, if you'd like to change it, you can give yourself permission to choose a new belief. And if you're ready to do that, say yes.
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 All right. And then go ahead and choose some new beliefs, 2 or 3 new beliefs that will take the place of that old limiting belief and will allow you to not only take your place within the diversity of God's creations, but begin creating within that place. What are your new beliefs? And with these new beliefs, I invite you to use these new beliefs as particles of creation. That as you read these new beliefs, that they are becoming part or materials with which you can create. That just as you might go to a yard sale and find the perfect thing that you've been looking for that everybody else sees as trash, that you can find that little piece and bring it in and create something beautiful with it, that these new beliefs are words that you can use as building blocks to create within your space to allow yourself to bloom where you're planted, to expand the growth within whatever circumstances you have, even if you feel like you're in a deep, dark cave, that there is growth happening at all times, that you use these words to find the light, to expand yourself, to grow, to continue to flourish just as God intended for each one of us. Flourish in your way, in the diverse way that only you can, and touch lives in only the way that you can. Take one more deep breath. And what is the one most important thing that you could do today to claim your own diversity, to use your particular brand of diversity to increase the growth, the prosperity, the abundance, the love, the connection, all of those good things, increase the light around you in your space? What is the one most important thing that you could do today? What's your inspired shortcut to really growing your diversity, your brand of diversity, so that it not only increases you, but begins to increase others as well? We are at the end of our time. I just want to thank all of you who have been on the call today and shared your thoughts. This has been a really powerful meditation for me, and I hope for you as well, and also for those who are listening to our podcast. I want to thank you for being on the call too, and I encourage all of you to take action on that inspired shortcut. Go use your own particular brand of diversity to add to the diversity that God has created, and to never try to be someone else, because you are your own individual species and brand of diversity that only you can exhibit, and only you can touch people in the way that you can touch people. So I encourage you to go out and just be you. Have a wonderful day, wonderful Christmas Eve. We will not be on our call tomorrow morning because it is Christmas morning. I want you to encourage you to spend that with the ones that you love and just enjoy the day. And then we will be back on December 26th, 7 a.m. Mountain Time. Thank you all.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, guys.
Hey, thanks so much for listening, and I encourage you to tune in every day to the Daily Gratitude Call. And the Daily Gratitude Call happens live every weekday morning. We'd love to have you join. So to find out how to join live, go to my website, WileenBenson.com. Thanks for tuning in.